On today's Know the Cause, have you ever eaten yogurt bark? Okay, Abby's in the kitchen. She's going to teach you how to do that, but you're going to have to wait for 27 minutes before you see that, because in the opening of the show, the Center for Disease Control, it's important that you consider fungal diseases within the context of something called COVID-19. What does that mean? I'll discuss that. Then someone said to me, Doug, I've been on antibiotics, mycotoxins themselves, for 5 years. Anything you might recommend for me to do, always work with your doctor. Okay, that's important. And then finally, fungal infections that mimic bacterial infections. Be still my heart. What's going on here? All that and a whole lot more on today's Know the Cause. For the past 45 years, I have dedicated my life and my whole career to finding the root cause of disease. And I now know with certainty that we must play a role in our own health care. I'm a self-care advocate, and you know what? Every time you change your diet for the better, exercise, or swallow a nutritional supplement, so are you. Now welcome to Know the Cause. Oh, about 2 years ago, along came this virus that even our brightest and best folks are still trying to think through. 2 shots, 1, 3, mask, no mask. I think our eyes were all opened to science. Your body isn't static. Your body, you can take your blood pressure at noon, and by noon 05, it's different. Things are moving. Science moves constantly. Which science should we trust? 1950 science, 2021 science, or 2080 science? You know what I'm asking, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit about COVID-19 and maybe fungus and maybe the combination. To the credit of our Center for Disease Control, CDC, they are promoting a Think Fungus campaign every year. I think they may have missed 2020, but they're doing it again this year. Added to the annually repeated bullet points, this year they added something different. And it excited me, and I want to share it with you. First, here's their opening campaign. So every year, 2017, 18, 19, I've been publishing on this for a long time. Then 20 came along, probably too much going on at the CDC. So here they are back in 2021. Here's what they say. Fungal Disease Awareness Week was September 20th to 24th, 2021. The Center for Disease Control and partners have organized that week to highlight the importance of recognizing serious fungal diseases early enough in the course of a patient's illness to provide life-saving treatment. Sometimes we diagnose fungus last, stage 4 cancer. Whoops, sorry. Sometimes we get it early, and this is the Center for Disease Control Association's means, and by the way, this goes to we the people and to doctors. And folks, it's an eye-opener. It's humbling to read this for me. I've been at this 50 years thinking fungus is involved in serious diseases, autoimmune diseases. Finally, I get the Center for Disease Control saying these things. Some fungal diseases go undiagnosed, leading to serious illness and death. I can account for that. Increase awareness about fungal disease is one of the most important ways we can improve early recognition and reduce delays in diagnosis and treatment. I can attest to that. A key clue to when a sick person may have a fungal disease is that he or she is being treated with medicines for another type of infection but does not get better. Can I cut to the chase? This is the Center for Disease Control looking around saying, psst, doctors, you're prescribing way too many antibiotics before you know if it's a bacterial infection. I think many infections are fungal, and antibiotics tend to fuel fungal infections, okay? Then they added this caveat, here it is. As if this couldn't get any better for Doug Kaufman, or Know the Cause, which has been on the air for 22 consecutive years, the Center for Disease Control added this. I need to thank them. It's important to consider fungal diseases in the context of the coronavirus disease 2019, or COVID-19 pandemic, because the symptoms of some fungal diseases can be like those of COVID-19, including fever, cough, and shortness of breath. To provide appropriate care, laboratory testing is necessary to tell if a person has a fungal infection or COVID-19. Can you handle the magnitude of that statement? You know, we're seeing a lot of mucor in India, patients who have recovered from COVID. In America, we're seeing a lot of aspergillus mold in people who have recovered. Could they have checked into the hospital with a mold that looked like COVID-19? Just asking. Where have we heard this before? If you're watching Know the Cause, you've heard this before. When those scientists entered the Wuhan bat caves years ago, they were exposed to Histoplasma capsulatum, a fungus associated with bat droppings and the soil around them. Via genetic fusion, DNA from fungus is capable of merging or uniting with RNA from SARS-CoV-2, and a new hybrid is born. The ensuing illness would be really complex because it would be called a virus. SARS-2 is a virus, but it might respond favorably to antifungal drugs like zinc, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin D. It might not respond well to antivirals. Okay? In May of 2020, I gave a 50-minute lecture to physicians. Here are two of the graphics that I included in that lecture. The shared similarities between COVID-19 and histoplasmosis, a fungus disease. You get sick by inhaling the virus and the fungus. People with compromised immunity become more vulnerable. Their incubation period is identical for both COVID and histo, 2 to 17 days. Both can cause what we thought only COVID-19 caused, adult respiratory distress syndrome. Both can cause systemic disorders. Both share near identical symptoms. And let me share those symptoms with you. Fever, chills. And remember, this was a year and a few months ago. Headaches, muscle aches, dry cough, chest discomfort, fatigue, sometimes adult respiratory distress syndrome, or ARDS. Both emit volatile organic compounds that dogs can detect. As more is learned about COVID-19, many of the new symptoms added are also symptoms sometimes seen in histoplasmosis. I'm not saying your COVID is a fungus, but it wouldn't hurt to get a blood test to see if you got a fungus on top of a virus. Maybe antifungals would really help, and I hope that helps you. You know what, Debbie, I'm an old guy, and as such, was on lots of antibiotics. Folks, they were the remedy for everything in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. By the by, they're abused, in my humble opinion, today. And it's not my humble opinion. Journals of pediatrics, etc., talk about antibiotic stewardship. Well, we've got to come to our senses and quit prescribing all these antibiotics. I got to tell you, folks, I'd like to tell you it's working. More antibiotics, COVID's on, a disease today. Antibiotics are just being dispensed, millions and millions of them. And now at 58 years old, you had a candida problem. You were on them for acne, then you had a candida problem. Antibiotics are swallowed. They're indiscriminate bacteria killers. God put good bacteria in the gut. Gone with antibiotics. And now we're finding Alzheimer's and many illnesses are gut-based, terrain of our intestine-based illnesses, causing neurological diseases like Alzheimer's. Make book on it, folks. You've got to restore the terrain of your gut. 58 years old, how would you like to become 59 years young? I think it can be done. I don't think it can be done if this is a candida or a gut, any kind of fungus overgrowth in the gut, without changing your diet. That's where the Kaufman 1 died. That's why I published that. I had some of these same problems. Starve it. And then ask your doctor for some nystatin. Nystatin is a yeast killer. Don't forget the good probiotics. We talk on Know the Cause all the time about Dr. Ohhira's probiotics. So look at a lifestyle change. Psyllium to help get the bowel moving, and psyllium absorbs mycotoxins in the gut. Probiotics before you go to bed at night to put the good bacteria back. And then don't keep feeding fungus. Be a stranger to most carbohydrates. As you know, the Kaufman 1 diet had plenty of good carbs on it. So get on that for a period of time and see if month after month, this isn't a quick remedy, if month after month after month, you're not feeling better, Debbie, better, Debbie, better, Debbie. 6 months from now, wow, do I feel good. I'm glad I took the time to fix that. Because if you don't, it may be diagnosed as an intestinal disease. Folks, your laboratory tests come back. The doctor took urine, he saw bacteria and pus in it, he says you have a bacterial infection. You know what the cause is all about. I have previously reported that osteoblasts, bone cells, can get fungal infections. Now, what is osteopenia? What is osteoporosis? What breaks down the bone but a fungal infection in the cells? I reported that melanoma, that fungi make melanin, that dark pigment. And a mole has a lot of melanin in it, and what activates that mole to become quite dangerous is something called UV light, the sun that God put there. And it's so fascinating, those who lay in the sun a lot, I used to surf a lot on the West Coast in California, and I was out in the water constantly, and thank God I never had a melanoma, but as I age, I'm watching some of these little developments on me. I report things that you're not going to hear anywhere else. And today I'm going to beg the question, do fungi precurse bacterial infections? Before he saw bacteria in your urine, what put it there? Okay, let's go. Your lab results say viral infection or bacterial infection, but might fungus play a role in those lab results? The fungal poison aflatoxin made by Aspergillus fungi, a couple of species of that, make human diseases, okay? AIDS and HPV, two of the diseases that aflatoxin seems to make more virulent. This is fascinating how this works, folks. Human papillomavirus can be quite toxic. What activates it? Every woman in the world, every man wants to know. What activates human immunovirus and makes it so lethal? What they found is Aspergillus mold, which is in corn, which is in, maybe not all corn. It's checked by the FDA here in the USA. But in corn and wheat and peanuts and so forth, foods that we're eating, at a certain level, makes these viri very virulent. It can actually make dormant cases of HPV quite lethal, okay? But when we isolate what this is, why this is a virus, no one asked the question, what is activating this virus? These two reports proved it on AIDS and HPV. The point is, underneath the diagnosis is something quite different. Can fungus stimulate or activate bacterial infections? Here's a headline that was aired in 2017 out of Nature Communications. Mycelium-mediated transfer of water and nutrients stimulates bacterial activity in dry and oligotropic environments. Down at the bottom, oligotropics are organisms that can live in an environment that offers very low levels of nutrients. So these bacteria, folks, in droughted environments, these bacteria need water, and they need nutrition, just like we do. They're living organisms. They gotta eat, they gotta have nutrition, but they don't get it, and soon they die. If it weren't for the mycelium, now these are the tails, the tentacles on fungus that carry water and nutrition to these bacteria. Then, if these are good, well, let me continue. In other words, in dehydrated, nutrient-poor soil, the roots of fungi called mycelium increase the activity of fungus that might have died by supplying them with water and nutrition. Okay, if these are good bacteria, there you go, I'm all for it. But could this process also activate bad bacteria or pathogenic bacteria? Once again, we see the role of fungi possibly contributing to activation of bacterial infections, at least in soil. We don't know if this takes place in the human body, but could this process be involved in hydrated, poor nutrition animal or human intestines across the globe? The one thing I know, folks, is we in America tend to be very dehydrated. We're eating far too many boxed and cans and fast food, canned goods and fast foods. And so laboratory test results are fairly accurate in detecting the infectious agent your doctor is suspecting is causing your health problems. Tests for AIDS and HPV don't look for fungus, though. No one would ever suspect that fungi can activate bacterial infections. In 2021, the Center for Disease Control is teaching doctors to think fungus. Yes, it's about time. Only time and research will teach us if bad bacteria thrive because of fungus. It's feeding them. Until that time, I eat organic fruits and vegetables as often as I can. I drink a lot of water because my exercise program dictates it. I sweat a lot. I take antimicrobial supplements intermittently like olive leaf, omega-3 fatty acids, and herbs. A good probiotic and psyllium hulls enables good gut health and lessens the possibility that dormant bad bacteria exists in my intestine. That's important information for you to know, because an armed patient, armed with knowledge, walking in to talk to a doctor about another antibiotic and another antibiotic and another antibiotic, doctor, what flares these up? Because I live in a moldy environment. Could it be? Possibly, yes. Now you know.
Hi guys, my name is Abby. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you a fun new way to incorporate yogurt into your daily life. This is just a simple treat that you can make. It's great for kids, it's great for adults, it's great for everybody, really. First thing we're going to do is making our basic Greek yogurt recipe. I'm going to start off with coconut cream. Now what I did was I left a can of coconut milk in the fridge. I used the full fat coconut milk. The light fat coconut milk doesn't really work as well, so make sure you get the full fat. I left it in the fridge for a while, for a few hours, let it get really cold. I put a hole in the bottom of the can without shaking it up, let all the coconut water drain out, and then you're left with all this lovely coconut cream, fat. It's delicious, it's great. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put that in our food mixer, and we're just gonna cream it up a little bit. Basically just wanna get all the lumps out of it and just kind of soften it up a little bit. It just takes a few seconds. Now you might need to scrape off the sides and make sure it's all mixed in. But trust me, it helps with the creaminess, the texture, and it gets all those little lumps out. All right, perfect. Now, while that's in there, we're gonna make the rest of our base. We're starting off with 2 cups of full-fat Greek yogurt. Make sure that you get the plain kind and not the flavored kind, because the flavored typically has sugar in it. You just wanna get the plain, and we'll flavor it on our own. So we got 2 cups. Get as much of that out as you can. I love Greek yogurt. It's so thick and creamy. I love it. Okay, now you got, I'm using maple syrup. This is grade A pure maple syrup. And just a tiny bit of vanilla. Now we're just gonna incorporate all that together. So it's nice and mixed in. All right, now that's good and mixed. I'm gonna move this off to the side. And now it's time to add in our coconut cream. Okay, there you go. Now you're just gonna bring all that coconut cream in to the bowl. Try not to make a mess. Try to be a little more careful than I am. Now you're probably thinking, oh, I don't want to add coconut cream to my yogurt. I don't like the taste of coconut. Well, the fact is, this coconut cream really doesn't add that much coconut flavor to it, especially with the maple syrup and the vanilla. You really don't have to worry about it tasting just like coconut. It gives it a very mild flavor, so you don't have to worry about that. If you're still tasting the coconut, you don't like it, just add a little bit more vanilla. It's not a big deal. Now you want to get that nice and mixed in. Okay, now I've got this all mixed together. And now comes for the fun part. So what makes this into a nice yogurt treat is that I've got a baking sheet here with a sheet of parchment paper on it. I'm going to flatten out the yogurt mixture on top of the parchment paper, and we're gonna turn it into a yogurt bark. Here, I'm gonna add on some toppings. So I've got blueberries and strawberries, and you can add any kind of toppings that you want. If you wanna add some toasted nuts, if you wanna add some coconut, other kinds of fruit, little apple slices or anything like that, anything would taste good. Really, any kind of fruit that you enjoy. Another thing you could do, you could drizzle on a little bit of honey on top if you want to do something like that. It will be a little bit more messy, but tastes good, so who cares? Okay, it's looking pretty good. Just enough to get a little bit of a taste of fruit in your bark pieces. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this in my freezer for around 4 to 6 hours until it really gets solid. Then we'll come back and we'll break it apart and we'll enjoy it. All right, guys, I'm back. It's been about 6 hours. My yogurt bark is nice and solid. Everything's looking pretty good. Let's break into it. I'm gonna try a knife because why not? Oh, that's cutting really nice. You can see some areas are a little bit thicker than others, but you know what? I'm just gonna grab it with my fingers. So I wanna try that. It's almost like a really thin popsicle. It's really good. It's creamy. Do be careful, it is getting on your hands a little bit. This is really good. I really like this. George, you wanna try some? Yeah? Okay. Do you mind if I use my hands? Okay. All right, which piece do you want? Other one? Now guys, this is like a bark. It does break off into random chunks. You can cut it if you want it to be a little more uniform, or you can just break it off with your hands, and then there's no telling where it's gonna break. Please make this at home. Please try it. This is great for summer or if you're just really hot all the time. It's a great frozen treat. Do be careful. It does start to melt in your hands, but it's so good you won't care. You'll just keep licking your fingers. So please make this. This is Kaufman 2. You can find the full recipe on our website. Again, you can add any kind of fruit you want to. You can even blend it in if you want to. But I like having the fruit on top. It just makes it look a little bit pretty. And it tastes really good. But yeah, make this, enjoy it, have a great day.
Okay, so every physician has to take courses in microbiology, tiny bio-life. So it gets confusing when you're talking about a virus called COVID or the common cold or a bacteria or a fungus. Okay, that's what today's show is all about. It's confusing out there. No one knows it all. Well, one person knows it all. None of us do. Thank you for being with us today. By the way, Abby wanted you to know that yogurt bark is Kaufman 2 approved. God bless. Bye-bye.